Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome back to the channel and welcome to this morning's live stream for match reaction and player ratings to Chelsea 1, Real Madrid 3. And in a rain-sodden Stamford Bridge last night, Chelsea got washed away by a Karim Benzema hat-trick. Kai Havertz with the only goal for the Blues to get us back in at 2-1, but ultimately an individual error by Edouard Mendy proving very, very costly. And we now face a massive uphill task heading into the return leg. No away goals does help us out a little bit, but you know, I would virtually say it's mission impossible almost now to go to the Bernabeu, score, win, and to win by 2 clear goals. This is essentially what needs to happen. And Real Madrid actually notching up their first victory against Chelsea in their entire history last night. I'm delighted to be joined by my brother who was at the game last night. Before we get into it, mate, obviously Thomas Tuchel after the Brentford debacle was calling on there to be a much better atmosphere. You were there last night. I mean, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to watch Real Madrid-Chelsea. It doesn't happen too often. Obviously, last season in the semi-final, there was no fans present because of COVID. Mate, how was it? What was the atmosphere like before kick-off and as the game got started?
It was electric. It was the morning, mate. It was electric. I've never seen the atmosphere like that. I haven't got my voice back, really. Like, it was mental. I was Matthew Harding and it was popping. I've never known Stamford Bridge to feel like that. It was easily the best atmosphere I've seen there in however many years of going. And like, there was a genuine sense that even after 2-0 down, we're in this, you know, and the atmosphere didn't fade really until the third goal went in, which was just, you know, a horrendous moment. But to kick things off, it was electric. And it felt like a very special night for the club.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, as I said, Real Madrid don't come to town too often. And, you know, a legendary club, you know, won the most Champions Leagues in history. And there's something special about Real Madrid and the Champions League, seeing them in the all-white kit, the quality of players they have. I know Cristiano Ronaldo's moved on and they're not quite as, maybe not as many superstars as they've had in the past, but before we get into Chelsea, one guy who is an absolute superstar, who is world-class, Karim Benzema, put us to the sword last night. An exceptional performance from him. I'm sure the TV doesn't do it justice. Just how good was he last night, seeing him kind of in the flesh, up close and personal. I mean, the guy is unbelievable.
I don't understand. How old is he?
Oh, he's 34 now.
What? He's so sharp. He's sharp as guy on the pitch. Like, it's probably got to do with the like exact nature of his movement as opposed to it being particularly explosive. But he just feels like he's got a yard on everyone, and his control and his feet are just so good. You know, you see him playing little balls, little touches, and his movement as well. I mean, he's just electric, and you know, it was horrendous to sort of be on the wrong side of it. But as a football fan, you're just like, fucking hell, excuse me. But you just think it's mental, and you know, definitely experience I won't forget.
I mean, he's got like, do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't like, I know it sounds stupid, but apart from his goals, I mean, I know like he wasn't that involved in the game. I mean, I know it doesn't really mean very much, but like just when it matters in the key moments, he's just there and he delivers. I know he missed one opportunity where he put it just wide. But then when he sets up Vinicius Jr., who hits the crossbar, I mean, just the back heel, just taking defenders out of play. I mean, these are not average defenders. This is Thiago Silva. I know he's 37, but still one of the best defenders on the planet. Rudiger up there is one of the best centre-halves. And he's just making these guys look average. The movement in the box. Even the second header, like quite a simple finish, but the accuracy that he has with it from the Modric cross. And the first header is ridiculous. The ball over the top and the header from about 15 yards out. The finishing's outstanding. I mean, and what a season he is having as well. I'm just going to bring his stats up on the screen if I can find it.
How many goals has he got? 36 or 37?
Yeah, back-to-back. Here we go. Back-to-back Champions League hat-tricks, 10 goals in 4 games, and a man-of-the-match appearance. And I think he becomes only the 4th player ever in Champions League history to score back-to-back hat-tricks. That one against PSG at the Bernabeu last time out, and then following it up with a hat-trick here. The guy, I think he's got 36 or 37 goals in all competitions, and as Ancelotti said afterwards, he just gets better with age. You know, he's having a fantastic season, and you know, we're saying in kind of the build-up to the game that, you know, really it's going to hinge on how quiet we can keep Karim Benzema, and ultimately we didn't keep him quiet at all, and we got punished. just obviously just a few stats to reel off. Let me just find it. Chelsea suffered back-to-back home defeats for only the second time under Thomas Tuchel. And that also came in April last year as well, which is not the best. And Chelsea considered 3+ goals in consecutive matches at Stamford Bridge for the first time since October 2012. So not a great run of form, not really the reaction we were looking to from the Brentford game at the weekend. For me, mate, very much, watching it on the TV and stuff, it looked to me that Tuchel, unfortunately, got outclassed by Ancelotti on the night. Real Madrid lining up with a 4-3-3, us with a trusted 3-4-3 system. But it was evident almost instantly that our midfield two of Jorginho and Kante was constantly getting overrun by Modric, Kroos and Casemiro. I mean, was that evident at the game? The fact that every time there was an extra man in there and we were just getting swamped?
Very much so. I mean, Jorginho. I don't know, really. It's odd. I don't feel as though I've watched him play well for some time. And you feel as though, like, since that moment for against United, where he lost out to Sancho, these things have been creeping into his game. There was early on in the first half, there was a misplaced pass to Azpilicueta. He lost control or was under pressure somehow. We nearly conceded. It was their first chance. Vinicius hit the bar. And that came out of Jorginho. And you feel as though his ability to deal with pressure, and especially in a midfield 2 against midfield 3, is not there. He wasn't dictating terms. He wasn't dictating the game in the way that we sort of like have come to know Jorginho to do so. And he looked under pressure. And he didn't seem as though he was dealing with it well. So I personally felt as though Kovacic should have started ahead of Jorginho. Yeah. And that was an error. And, I don't necessarily outclassed by Ancelotti. Well, just made some personal errors, regardless of Ancelotti. Just made mistakes, and that's they were really evident on the pitch. It was tough to see at times. It felt like we were being outclassed by a much better side. That's not what Real Madrid are. We're as good as, if not better than Madrid. Form-wise, they're hotter right now, for sure.
Yeah.
But we've got as good a squad, if not better. And we've got as good a coach, if not better. And this is just a case of us not putting in a good performance and certain errors, both on the pitch and off the pitch, contributing to that. And it was really frustrating.
No, to us, but I think like these last 2 games, I think Tuchel's got it. He got it completely wrong against Brentford. And look, I have to call it how it is. Not by all means, Tuchel, fantastic manager, has been outstanding at Chelsea. But this last few days, he's had an absolute shocker. Brentford, he got everything wrong. System, personnel, changes, etc., all wrong in the Brentford game. Last night, I felt, everyone was happy to see the return to the 3-4-3. We had to go with that system. And to be fair, other than Kovacic, I think the lineup was exactly what people wanted. Azpilicueta at left wing back, no problems with that. Alonso had a stinker against Brentford, and I was happy to go with a more solid defender in Azpilicueta on that left side, even if you sacrifice a little bit going forward. And then the front three was the front three that everyone wanted to see: Mount, Pulisic, and Havertz. And then the only issue was Kovacic not playing. Not starting in midfield, who's basically our most important midfield player, probably our best midfield player. But other than that, it was the lineup we see. So there's not really too many complaints about the lineup. But one thing that Tuchel did hold his hands up about after the game was, like, Vinicius Junior was having an absolute field day against Christensen. Like, Tuchel saying that let me just bring the quote up now. Maybe it's here. Hold on a sec. Yeah. It was when he was talking about changing Christensen and Kante at half time. It was a tactical change. It's like always. It's never on one player or 2 players. We lost shape and sharpness after the international break. I don't have an explanation. For me, mate, the Christensen situation with Reece James bombing forward and not really getting back too much defensively, Vinicius Junior had so much space. I mean, Christensen, one of the worst performances I've seen from him in a long time, one of the worst performances from a Chelsea player in general in recent weeks, months, etc. But the space between him and Reece James and how easy it was for Vinicius just to get in there time and time again, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? It was just like, it was so obvious, yet it wasn't really dealt with until half time.
No, and we felt, you felt so vulnerable. We felt impotent in attack and extremely vulnerable defensively. It was one of those games where you're just like, it was like incredibly frustrating to watch. And you felt as though the changes should have been made before halftime. You felt as though tactically it was really obvious, pretty much from the first 20 minutes. I mean, we were 2-0 down inside 26 minutes. And it's just like, well, how long are we going to let this happen? How long are we just going to keep, what's going on here? We know how to remedy this and let's do it. Tuchel has never been one who I feel has been afraid to make early changes. And I like that about him. And of course, we're talking a lot about Tuchel here. We've got love for Tuchel. Tuchel's the right person for us onwards. None of that, no issues there. But you've got to call out mistakes. You've got to call out tactical errors. And I feel as though there's been a few of them, not least, yesterday. Changes could have been made before half time, at least tactically speaking. So, yeah, frustrating game, difficult to watch. And a game that I was apprehensive about in terms of something like this happening beforehand. I don't feel as though we're going, you don't know what the hell you're going to get at the moment with Chelsea. And I don't know how much of an excuse this sort of like clamour around the sale and all that.
Yeah, it can't be helping, but
like really, like you're a player.
It's not really an excuse as to why we've let 7 goals in 2 home games. Like you can't just say, that's like you like. Look, it's not going to be helping, and it's an unwanted distraction. But at the end of the day, it's not helpful. I know Tuchel's obviously in a situation where things off the pitch are just ridiculous. In terms of the sale, he's obviously going through a lot personally as well with the breakdown of his marriage, etc. That can't be easy for him to deal with as well. And he's human after all. But I mean, for me,
I hope he's all right, mate. He's having a little stinker at the
moment. But more concerning, obviously international break beforehand. We won all our games last month. We've come back after the international break. We've lost 2 on the spin, let 7 goals in. And for me, the most worrying thing is that he's not sure. Where is it? He doesn't have an explanation. We've lost shape and sharpness after the international break, and he doesn't have an explanation for it. That for me, that seems quite concerning. Is that like Tuchel's preparing the team as best he can? They're going out on the pitch, not delivering, and he just doesn't know why. And that's a bit, for me, that's a slight concern.
Well, here's the thing. I think what I like about Tuchel is he's a straight shooter.
He's honest.
He's straight. And I think if a lot of managers were honest when they answer questions, a lot of them would say, I don't have an explanation. But they tend to fill it with the usual jargon. Oh, international break, a lot of travelling, a lot of this, a lot of that, lacking rhythm, so whatever. Tuchel's just like not going to give you, he's going to give it to you straight. He's not going to bullshit you. And Tuchel's being like, to be honest, I don't have an explanation. These are professional players who should be able to perform after an international break. We've all been on international breaks before. We all know what it's like. You need to hit the ground running, especially.
It's the same for everyone. Every club has players on international break. I mean, we might have more than others, but it's not an excuse.
Precisely. And I think that's what Tuchel's saying. That's what I take from that. I don't think he's like, I don't know what's going on with the players. They're all losing control, and I've got no idea what's going on. I think what he's saying is, I don't have an explanation. I don't have an excuse. There is no explanation. There is no excuse. We need to be performing. I don't know why they're not. We are preparing as well as we always do for these games, and there is something lacking, and I don't know what it is. That's him just being straight, and I've got respect for that. So I understand why it sounds concerning, but if you break it down and you approach it from a more cerebral standpoint, and which is not necessarily something football fans always do, then I think you can read between the lines, and that's not an alarming comment for me.
No, but it also went on to say that if we continue to play like we're playing, we're going to lose to Southampton on the weekend, then we'll get battered in the Bernabeu, was his exact phrase. I think that's fair, and he's honest, and he's not wrong. But we've seen this before with other managers, namely Mourinho in the past, that being so publicly critical of players can go one of 2 ways. It can either sort of motivate them and galvanise them, or it can be the beginning of starting to lose the dressing room. I'm not saying at all by any means that's what's going to happen, but you do tread a fine line. Players nowadays don't seem to be particularly robust. They seem to be very, pampered to, can't really take criticism that well, and kind of the first sign of things going wrong, heads seem to drop, etc., etc. Whereas in the past, perhaps players were a lot more robust, a bit more stronger, and kind of took that criticism on the chin and they kind of like fired them up. It can go one of 2 ways. But I mean, do you think Tuchel's treading a fine line by publicly being so? I know he's being honest, but being so, openly critical of the team in public. Do you think that's the right way to go about things?
Okay, two-part answer. First part, you see this from the top managers. You see it from Pep, you see it from Klopp. You see it routinely. Like they consider themselves part of the team. Yeah. They consider themselves, they're ostensibly out there. They are one of the players. They are a family unit. So criticizing the group, the team, is to criticize themselves and their own part in it as well, just as much as it is to criticize the team. We need, if we do that again, we will get pumped. If we do that again, we are going to see another bad result. It's not like, oh, it's all the players and I'm absolving myself from that. It is a collective feeling which they're discussing. And you see it from Pep being, hard on the unit. You see it from Klopp, being honest about poor performances. And that is something that the top, Tuchel has delivered Chelsea a huge amount of success in the brief time that he's been here. And he will continue to do so. And that is because he's fostering a group family environment where, he can be honest about the performance and he includes himself in that. So you see that. And additionally, like we've said, Tuchel is honest. And that's something that, in a world beyond football where you don't see straight shooting on the TV, you don't see people answering straight questions with straight answers. It can be a little bit of like a, whoa, crikey, he's obviously got problems, or there's no idea there's problems at the club. Well, no, really, we need to be open and accepting of this kind of frank, brazen, straight talk from from people who are high up in football, from people who are high up in politics. We need to be accepting of it and treat it at face value instead of turning it into something that it isn't. We're so used to taking rhetoric and sound bites and picking them apart, being like, okay, what does that actually mean? Well, with Tuchel, we've got the benefit of being able, well, he actually means what he's saying. So that exposes how I'd answer that. So I understand what you're saying. I don't think he's in danger of losing the dressing room at this stage.
No, I don't think so either. But I mean, back to the game, obviously we touched on it. Not a great start, 2 down in 25 minutes or so. Just before half-time, we get ourselves back into the game. Despite Jorginho's kind of average performances recently, that's his third decent assist that he's delivered. A nice cross, obviously the pass for Havertz against Newcastle, the nice pass for Pulisic away at Lille, and then he delivered another top assist for Kai Havertz again. It's a nice header, putting it past Courtois. And 2-1, 5 minutes before the break, you're thinking, right, we're right back in this.
Bridge was rocking, mate. We were rocking.
Bridge rocking, and like after what was quite a poor first half, you go in, you've halved the deficit. There's renewed optimism at half time. Tuchel makes 2 changes at half time. Mateo Kovacic comes on for Kante, and I can't remember who else came on now. That's going to annoy me. Didn't Hakim Ziyech come on as well at half time? Yeah, and Christensen went to a back 4. I think, right, we're going to go for it now. And then literally, we touched on it earlier, about 30, 40 seconds into that second half, Mendy makes a horrific mistake. He's come quite a long way out anyway. And, as a footballer, I know these things happen, but to cock up a pass that is so close to you, and, Rudiger can't get there. Benzema alert, smelling the danger, and he's got an empty goal to just poke it into for his hat-trick. But 2 things there. I mean, what is Mendy doing? And I know Rudiger's on a booking, but should he have done more to perhaps maybe take Benzema out, maybe sacrifice himself, or just, just put everything and just clatter the ball? I mean, maybe he could have done more, but ultimately the mistake is all on Mendy. And, for me, he's still the best goalkeeper in the world, but these last 2 games have been horrific from him. And it has highlighted to me what his shortcomings are. And his distribution is honestly, it's awful. And he's got to improve that distribution big time.
He's such a good shot stopper, such a good shot stopper. And as aerially, he's great because he's so big. And I got obviously so much love for Mendy, and congratulations to him and everything that he's achieved. It's an amazing story. He's not a good footballer. He's not good with the ball at his feet. No, he's not an Edison. He's not. He's just not. That's not what he's able to do. That's not in his locker. He's not a Neuer. these keepers have that layer to their game. You can see that Mendy's working on it, but it happens. It's happened, when his distribution is poor, and also around the back after a mistake, he nearly did it again in the second half. It's just like, geezer, don't this is
just
not
get rid of it.
This is not the arena for you to be sort of working on your game. This is not the time for that at this level. At that point in the competition, 2-1, that could be it, That could be the thing that sinks us out of the Champions League. It probably is. It probably is. And just to think about that, it's like, it's never one person's fault.
No.
We shouldn't have been 2-0 down, but we were. And, that's the thing about sport. No one's writing the scripts. It's real. It's right there. It's right in front of you. And if you make a mistake, you will see the consequences of your mistake realized right in front of you in that moment. And at that level, in these competitions, there's no room for it.
You can't do that.
And it's the difference between people who are remembered and people who aren't. And if Mendy wants to sort of solidify himself and, leave a mark, then those mistakes have got to go.
Yeah,
he's had a good run. He's had a really, really good run. And, the success he's achieved in terms of silverware is just like unparalleled, in the last 18 months. But apart from that, really, he's got to have a more sort of serious think about how long he's going to be able to maintain this. Because if those mistakes are part of his game, then he won't. He won't. You can just as quickly lose it. And that was just like,
worst timing as well. You've just got back into the game before half time. You've made the 2 changes. You've gone to a back 4. You're going for it inside the first minute, and it's like the atmosphere, I guess, is just deflated, and I guess it went a bit flat afterwards after that goal went in.
Oh, mate, I can't tell you how disappointed the feeling was. It was just like, you are kidding.
Yeah, mate, it's so unfortunate, and it's just the worst stage for it to happen on. But obviously we're 3-1 down, but despite that, we still had opportunities to get back into the game, and there were quite a few opportunities in that second half. Azpilicueta had a fantastic strike that was a great save by Thibaut Courtois with his wrong hand.
He was getting some heat last night.
Yeah, he wasn't getting a good reception. I mean,
Courtois was getting some heat.
To be honest, I'm over that. It was 4 years ago that he left now. I think basically nothing wrong with him wanting to leave, but it's a fact he basically just went AWOL, didn't really turn up to training and stuff, and kind of forced his move through. But it's 4 years ago now.
I was getting involved. I'll admit, I was getting involved.
It's 4 years ago. Do you know what I mean? We're over it now. For God's sake, that's 4 years ago.
I think it was just also part of the mood in the ground. Like, we want to create a hostile atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, opportunities. Azpilicueta smashing one almost top bins, fantastic. Reece James with a couple of opportunities as well. It's funny that our fullbacks, wingbacks, whatever, look like the most likely people to actually force the goalkeeper into a save. But the biggest chance of the night, and I know it's Lukaku, and he as a centre forward who is of top quality, he's obviously not showing it really since he's come back to Chelsea. You've got to score that header. It's such a good chance, I know the cross is slightly deflected as it comes in and the ball is spinning a little bit. It's not really an excuse. Only he knows how difficult that made it, but that header's got to go in. It has to go in. And that's when you sort of your main centre forward's missing an opportunity like that, it's not going to be your day. But he should have done so much better with that. But there were chances. I mean, ultimately, Hakim Ziyech having a great chance towards the end as well, just over. Mason Mount with a shot that went onto the roof of the net. We had opportunities, but it's the same old story. These are like kind of shots from realistically only one clear-cut chance, which was Lukaku's header. The rest kind of just shots from distance. And I guess it kind of highlights a familiar situation where one team has got someone who is phenomenal in front of goal. Almost everything goes in. Whereas us as forward players, you don't know how many chances you're going to need to score a goal, that's the difference at this level. Like last season in the Champions League, we know we weren't clinical in front of goal, but everything else we were bang on it pretty much every single game, and we could kind of get away with it. We'd get a chance and we'd score it. When you're not bang on it with this Chelsea side, the fact we don't have someone that can regularly put the ball in the net, you get exposed at this level, and we were exposed last night. But yeah, the Lukaku chance was huge, really was big, and he's got to score it.
there's a real sense in the ground that like this Lukaku thing isn't working out. Like it was difficult. You know, I don't want to be sort of spreading and rhetoric on the channel.
Propaganda, mate.
On vitriolic, cruel propaganda.
Mate, you're spreading Lukaku slander.
Exactly. I don't want to be the one doing that, but mate, like you know what it's like. You go, mate, Lukaku, like the people. I want him to do well. I'm desperate for him to do well.
I think everyone wants him to do well.
There's definitely room to last night, but you know, what's going on? What's going to happen there? Is this just another chapter in the sort of tragic novel of Chelsea strikers? Like, is that what's going on here? Are we watching just another disaster, and then Lukaku's going to get sold next season?
And he'll bang goals in, and he'll smash goals in somewhere else.
And it's just like, what on earth is that really what's going to happen? Is what everyone expects to happen? The amount of money we spent on him and Werner, and you're just like, there's like ironic sort of like warmth to Werner, but really.
It's a bit humiliating, actually.
You don't back him, yeah.
It's
like
no one believes that he's going to do anything. It's not. He's a nice guy. It's not worked out, and the fact of the matter is, he'll probably go to Germany or Italy or something, and he'll score loads of goals. It's so obvious.
I know.
But I mean, the Lukaku chance, massive. And there were other opportunities, but ultimately, you know, we just couldn't get the job done, and a 3-1 deficit heading into the second leg next Tuesday. Before we get into the player ratings and stuff, mate, do you think like Tuchel tie's done? I mean, we've been 3-1 down before in a Champions League knockout game back in 2012. Napoli, I know Real Madrid are a different level of opposition to Napoli, and we haven't got the second leg at the bridge.
We don't have Morillas.
And we don't have, you know, what we used to have before. But, you know, if we're being honest, if we're being really honest with ourselves, can we do it? Yes. Do we really believe that we honestly going to do it? I've got to say, from my personal opinion, I think not. I think to go to the Bernabeu, you know, with the form we've been in, I mean, if we don't beat Southampton on Saturday, it's 3 games without a win, and then we head to the Bernabeu having to win by 2 goals. It doesn't make good reading. But big European nights, sometimes we can come alive. But the reality is, you know, I think it's virtually mission impossible. I mean, I still believe, a small part of me, but if we're being in reality, I think it's done. I really do think it's done. I mean, are you sharing that same doom and gloom as me, or do you actually think we can do it?
I genuinely think we can do it.
You think we can go and win? We'd have to go and win. Well, we'd have to win 3-0 for it to be done in normal time, or win 2-0 and we can get extra time and penalties. I mean, it's going to be a massive ask.
Mate, we can do this. This is within Chelsea's capabilities.
It is, but do you think it's likely?
It's unlikely.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably a 20% chance we do it.
Yeah. Do I think we're going to go and win this 3-0?
No.
Do I think we can? Yes. You know, I think it's a possibility that we can do this. It's not like, right, tie down. You know, you know, like we're one of the top sides in Europe. We're as good or better than Real Madrid, and it's the Champions League. If we go there and we score in the first 20 minutes, then it's like, whoa, okay, bang, and we can completely do that. We can absolutely do that. So I'm pumped for Tuesday. I'm gassed. I'm gutted that for, you know, like you can't watch it live, but I'm going to be watching, and I definitely feel as though this is something that we can do.
Yes, we can certainly do it. And if we were to pull it off in the most unlikely of circumstances, it would probably be one of the greatest nights outside of winning Champions League in Chelsea's history, to go to the Bernabeu and overturn a 2-goal deficit. It really would be quite something. These things do happen. And the great thing about football and sport in general is you don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, stranger things have happened. And look, we're not sitting here saying it's going to, like, we think it's going to happen. It's highly unlikely, but there's part of you that still believes, and it is very much possible. I mean, just last thing on the game itself, I know it looked 3-1, looks like a hammering, totally outclassed, but was it a case of, you know, Chelsea being really poor, which made Real Madrid look better? Or, I mean, I look at it as a game of kind of fine margins. You know, we had opportunities to score, we didn't really take them.
Yeah.
And Real Madrid just had someone who's lethal in front of goal, and we got punished for individual mistakes. I mean, I'm not saying that we played particularly well because we didn't, but a 3-1 scoreline, do you think that's fair? I mean, it happened, so it probably was fair, but I guess it probably is.
I suppose, yes. The point is that, a lot of the mistakes were our own. It's not like we turned up last night and Real Madrid just drilled us. Not at all. We were in control of the game for large parts, and we had our opportunities and we didn't take them. That's the problem. You take Benzema out of the equation, or you put Benzema in a blue shirt, and you're looking at a completely different game. But you can say this about any game.
It's all ifs and buts at the end of the day.
The point is, they were clinical and we weren't. That's just the reality of the scenario. And you can copy and paste that to a lot of Chelsea performances. We're not clinical in front of goal. I don't know what the solution is. You buy a player like Lukaku and you're like, sweet, sorted, clinical striker. Apparently not. So we
could have bought Haaland and he would have been shit at Chelsea. He would have been.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. What's going to happen when he moves? The football is such a game of confidence and such a game of form and feeling that you've just got no way of predicting the, particularly with strikers who rely on being red hot in front of goal. You've got no way of predicting what a career is going to be like.
No, it's true, but I mean, you're going to head to that second leg, and it's going to be very, very difficult. But you just never know. But ultimately, I think, from my perspective, I think the defence of the trophy's done. I know that's quite doom and gloom, but we got to be realists, and I think we're out, mate. I think we're finished.
I'm bringing balance to this channel, mate.
No, mate. I'd love us to go through. Of course, I do. And I always believe in the boys, but if we're being realistic, I think we're finished.
Mate, you are going to be tuned in on Tuesday, and you're going to.
Well, mate, I'll be quite happy to have the whole, not just a slice of humble pie we go for. I'll have the whole pie and some more if necessary. But let's get into the player ratings. We touched on him earlier. Mendy was poor against Brentford. He was awful again last night, mate. Really, crucial error that's basically all but put us out of the tie. Distribution really poor as well. Looks shaky. I've got to be honest, mate. I'm looking at probably somewhere between a 2 and a 3 for him. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it was a pretty dire performance, wasn't it? And he was central to our demise. I mean, what do you say about an error like that?
I mean, we were already losing anyway, but it's
well, yeah, but mistakes.
I think it's put us out of the tie.
Yes, yeah. That was definitely the feeling last night, anyway. And I think it still feels the same when you wake up this morning.
What do we reckon? 3 or 2? I think a 2.5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's harsh. It's harsh, but he was poor. Let's move on to Christensen then at the back. I mean, obviously we let in 3 goals again. Christensen hooked at half time. I mean, Tuchel probably protecting him and Kante, saying it was tactical. I think it's just the fact they were both shit in the first half. I
don't necessarily know how bad Kante was. I
don't think he was good, mate. You don't. No, he wasn't good. Christensen then started in the back 3. This is probably one of the worst centre back performances I've seen. Not just from him, but just in general for a long time. It's just all over the place. The amount we touched on it earlier, the amount of space between him and Reece James, and how Vinicius Jr. just had him on toast all game. Part of
that was tactical. It's not necessarily down to the fact that Christensen's crap. I'm not saying that he is, but it's not exactly cause and effect. Christensen's bad, therefore there was space. Part of that was tactical,
he didn't do well defensively either, though.
Well, no, he dealt badly with a difficult situation. I didn't think it was a good performance. No, I mean, what do you say, 4?
I don't know. I think that's quite. I was going to give him a 3. Generous. I think 4 is quite generous. I think a 3, mate. He wasn't good. He only played a half as well, and he just wasn't at it. He was just exposed all the time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily his fault entirely, but not good. Moving on to Rudiger, then obviously had the screamer against Brentford. But didn't play well defensively. Again, last night, mate, I thought he was quite poor. I don't like to criticise Rudy, but I mean, he wasn't worse than Christensen, but this was another poor game from him.
Yeah, it's funny when you watch it on TV, you're able to sort of look at the performance as a performance. When you're there, you recognise what Rudiger brings on top of his
Yeah.
performance, his engagement with the crowd, his like continual spirit, which is a driving force for the team. So it's difficult, like, you know, if you're just talking about the performance, then yeah, 5, 4, 5, not great. Should have cleaned Benzema out when, should have cleaned him out. He got to the ball first. I don't know why he tried to poke it back to Mendy. It's just the least Rudiger thing ever. He should have just clattered the ball and Benzema. He probably wouldn't have been punished for it. It would have been a clean challenge, and we wouldn't be having a conversation.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake. But you do get to see when you're there what Rudiger brings on top of his performance. Him as a talisman for the team. Like, I love that. Like, it's big.
Yeah, but not a good night. Thiago Silva, he can be excused a poor game, you know, against Brentford. Not good. No one was good against Brentford. But fact of the matter is, he didn't look that good last night. Really struggled to deal with Benzema. You know, he was off it again as well. And you know, would you say he was better than Rudiger last night? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You think he was a bit better?
Yeah. He was. I'd give him a 5. You know, he's composed, and he did well last night. Well, I say did well. He was better than Rudiger and Christensen for sure. And I think that's got to do. I think that's probably got to do more with the nature of his performances. You know, he's regularly showing composure at the back, whereas Rudiger, you know, isn't famous for that. And Christensen really had a poor game. So maybe this is just sort of an aspect of how Silva plays, but it felt like a better performance.
Yeah, I mean, not great. I mean, it's hard to give high ratings for a back three that ships 3 goals again. So I mean, it's difficult. But yeah, I'd say Silva probably the best on the night of a bad bunch defensively. Moving to Reece James then. Great to have him back in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
He looked, going forward, dangerous. Had a free kick in the first half that was well saved, and had another shot, I think, in the second half, which was on target as well, which is all you can ask for. One of our more dangerous players going forward, definitely. But I thought, again, it wasn't all Christensen's fault, the amount of space that Vinicius Jr. had. I didn't think it helped that, for me, Reece James perhaps wasn't getting back as much as he should have done to help Christensen out with Vinicius, and that's why a few of those issues occurred. I mean, what do you reckon for Reece? Do you think he was average last night? Below? Above? It's a difficult one.
Reece James is a dynamic attacking player.
Yeah.
You know, let's look at that lineup. You know, who out of the Mount is a dynamic attacking player? I don't even know how dynamic Havertz is. He's obviously playing well at the moment, and that's great. But we just seem to lack people who want to be direct, and it's so difficult. And so you can't help but appreciate it when you see it. And Reece James is dynamic attacking player. You know, a lot of the stuff, the majority of our attacks that go down the right go through Reece James. And he seems to be the one who wants to be putting a ball in with pace, or wants to be cutting back, delivering a pass into the box, or, you know, someone at the top of the box, really being, you know, bringing dynamism to our attacking play. So I like that. You know, I like that about him. Tactically, positionally, it was painful at times. Reece James was really out of position, put pressure on Christensen. The whole thing was just whack. So it's difficult to rate him. I'd probably say 5 or 6.
No, I think we go 5 for Reece James. Moving to the left-hand side, then Azpilicueta shifted out to that left side. I actually thought he didn't have too bad a game. Obviously, he's not going to offer as much. He's not going to offer as much going forward, but he tested Courtois, made him make a great save with a drive from the edge of the box that was going to smash top bins, but it was kept out. What did you make of him defensively, though? That's really what he's in the team for, I guess, defending, his experience. I mean, he had Valverde. He had Valverde down that side. I mean, I don't know if Azpilicueta was really much better than James or not.
Well, yeah. Again, Azpi's, you know, spirited player, always brings it from, you know, in an energy level, is not, you know, he's markedly slower. You know, you can see that. You can see that he's lost a couple of yards of pace, and you kind of lack confidence at times when he's in a foot race, and also in terms of physical strength. Positionally, he's great, but in terms of physical strength, if he's going for a 50-50, you don't back him, and it's difficult. You know, you urgently feel the absence of Chilwell. You know, it's been such a shame and such a annoyance on nights like this, because you just still don't feel as though we're at full strength.
Yeah. What do you think for us then? Same as James or less?
Slightly better.
You think it's slightly better?
Yeah.
Right, let's go with a 5.5 then for Aspie. Moving into midfield, N'Golo Kante, won't go too much detail, but I think this maybe we're seeing the start of the decline for Kante. Last season...
There's a lot of this tied to his fitness.
Last season, he was outstanding. Man of the match in both legs of the semi-final and the final. This season, he's still putting good performances, but his levels of consistency are nowhere near. Sometimes he puts decent performance. Mate, it seems to be one decent performance, and then it's like two or three shit ones on the spin. And last night was the first time that he's been substituted at half time for a tactical reason, first time he's been subbed off at half time for something that's not an injury. And I think that's very telling that Kante, in a massive game, Chelsea's biggest game of the season, and one of our biggest of big game players in recent years, was hooked at half time. He's giving the ball away, didn't complete any dribbles yesterday. Like, his stats last night were awful. This was really poor from him, and it's so unlike him, but it's becoming more of a theme in his game at the moment. And I'm not sure he should be starting for Chelsea at the moment that much. I think Tuchel could do him a favour by taking him out the firing line, and maybe he should start on the bench against Southampton.
I know I said it, I just can't help but feel as though a lot of this is linked to his fitness. I feel like, throughout, he started picking up injuries. What was it with Sarri?
Yeah, but he's not really been the same since he picked up that kind of knee and groin injuries around the Juventus and the Man United time.
Yeah, I know, but I feel as though that's a recurring thing. It started before that. And it's something that he's been struggling with. He's in and out of the side. And I think I've heard Tuchel talking about the fact that he really needs some serious time off. And, whether or not he's going to be able to get that, I don't know. He's still world class. And I think, he'd get into most sides. But you feel as though he's not putting in those big boy performances that you've come to expect from him, where he just dominates the game and is just, in a one-on-one, Kante's just got everyone. And he's everywhere. That kind of fear factor, because he's not necessarily that kind of player, but that aura around Kante, where is certainly feels as though it's fading. So I don't know why the next part of this next chapter.
Out of contract at the end of next season as well. As a decision to be made there. So, but I mean, I think a 3.5 is fair. Perhaps not as bad as Christensen, but really only probably a shade better. Really not good from Kante at all. And he was obviously subbed at half time. Jorginho got the assist for Kai Havertz's header, but again, not a great performance from him. And again, I think, the first time he's played in a while, actually. And I reckon Tuchel started him because of how effective he was against Real Madrid last season. But Jorginho's not been playing well in recent weeks, hasn't really been in the team that much at all. And other than the assist, I felt that he struggled last night as well. Perhaps not as bad as Kante, but, I'm looking maybe a 4 or 4.5.
Yeah. Like I was saying, I don't feel when he's being pressed and when he doesn't have time on the ball, when he doesn't give himself time on the ball, he looks poor. He looks fragile. It's like, again, taking Sancho, or that when Sancho's goal against United, when Jorginho, essentially bottled it under a high ball. Yeah. And, stuff like that creeps into his game. There was a chance when Vinicius hit the bar. That was a result of a poor ball from Jorginho. I know I said that earlier. Like, this stuff is in him, and it's problematic, and it costs us. And, it's not good. I definitely feel as though Kovacic should have started last night. Jorginho didn't seem like the right fit. Of course, he gave good assist to Havertz, but I definitely feel as though Kovacic should have started last night. And that was reflecting Jorginho's performance. I didn't think he was good.
No, he wasn't. Let's rattle through this front three quickly then to round out. Mason Mount on the right-hand side. He was obviously going to start. His work rate is very impressive in the big games. He always presses from the front. He's always running around putting a shift in. He had an opportunity towards the end in the second half, a shot that just went onto the roof of the net, which was close. But if we're being honest, Mount really wasn't sort of the influential player we needed him to be in a game like this.
Nor has he been for
he hasn't been for a while. I know he's got he's done well this season, but realistically, apart from like games against Norwich, I'm not putting slating him or anything, but no players should be held to the same standards. Just because Mount's from the academy, we shouldn't criticise him.
Yes.
But Mount, he wasn't good last night. I'm sorry, he didn't affect the game at all. And he's not. I don't think he's played well for a while now, and it's a little bit concerning. And again, he's another one that probably shouldn't really be one of the first names on the team sheet anymore. I think there's an argument that there's other ones that probably more deserving of a start. I mean, what did you make of Mount last night? For me, just not affecting the game like he should be.
Yeah, look, like I say, mate, when you're there, you can see the impact of his energy. You can see that Mount's a high energy player that energizes the team, energizes the crowd in it, and it contributes in that way. Mount's always going to bring it. You can rely on him to always bring it. It's not as though he's not putting effort in. He's electric in that sense, and I've got a lot of love and respect for that. But ultimately, yeah, poor quality in the final third. I mean, you could be talking about any of the front three.
Yeah,
poor quality in the final third. Just not, lacking composure at key moments, not delivering quality balls, not delivering balls in when he has the opportunity to, lacking confidence and not being front-footed in attack. So, yeah.
It was difficult. I mean, what would you reckon rating-wise? Do you reckon average?
4 or 5.
5 or
5.
4.5? No, 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what wasn't good from Mount. To get to a couple of bits in the chat quickly. Mo saying that Pulisic was subbed in the Carabao Cup final, Champions League final yesterday because he's inconsistent like Mount. Yeah, I mean, Pulisic has been in really good form, but I don't know what happens. These guys are in great form, and then they come back after the international break, and then the form seems to disappear. I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on there. Yeah, I agreed. Mount wasn't great for England either. He wasn't. No, we're not criticising Mount. We're not saying he shouldn't be at Chelsea or anything like that. But he needs to be held to the same standard as everyone else when it comes to criticism. And his performances have not been good enough recently, and he's not affecting games in the way he had been doing earlier. So that's an important thing to remember there as well. And Texas Blue, Jorginho was left by himself with Kante pushed so high and Mount drifting further up. Georgie was 1v3 all game. What was he supposed to do? I mean, I think that's a fair point. The balance was off. With Kante meaning to be the more advanced of the two midfield players, Jorginho was left massively exposed. And, I think if a game highlighted the fact that we need a defensive midfield player, it was this game. We don't really have a proper holding midfielder, which is why that needs to be addressed in the summer big time. But anyway, moving away from Mason Mount onto Christian Pulisic. Obviously, came off around the hour mark for Lukaku. He's been our best attacker really the last month or so, along with Kai Havertz. But for me, Pulisic, like Mount, not really affecting the game at all last night.
No, anonymous. Totally anonymous. I felt, didn't really bring anything in my view. 3.5, 4. I don't really know what to say. It's not as though he was necessarily regularly losing the ball, but or making clear blunders, but it wasn't impacting the game. He wasn't dynamic. He wasn't being direct. Like the point of Pulisic is that he is a dynamic, direct attacking player, and he just didn't bring that last night.
No, he didn't. And like so many of the front three, it just didn't happen. Kai Havertz then to round out very quickly, mate. Scored Chelsea's goal, and probably the only player that can really come away with anything from this game saying that he was actually half decent. And he seems to be carrying Chelsea at the moment in terms of, scoring the goals and just being a physical presence at the top end of the pitch. And he has come into his own in the last month or so. Takes the goal, and he was probably Chelsea's best player on the night. And, he's definitely, realising more of his potential. There's still a long way to go, but a promising performance for him on a disappointing night for the Blues. I mean, I'm probably looking at Havertz's highest rating. I'll probably say a 6 or a 6.5.
Yeah, I agree. Did well with the header, got Chelsea's goal. And, there's a bit of a feeling around Havertz at the moment. You felt it last night. Like, he was one of the players where you felt as though he might be able to bring something. Might just be the feeling of the form, of his recent form. And if you take this performance in isolation, then you might be looking at it differently. But there was definitely a feeling around Havertz last night. He felt like our most dangerous attacking player. But even so, didn't feel that potent in and around the edge of the box. Maybe that's just how you feel about Havertz because of his style. It's quite languid, But yeah, difficult.
Yeah. Mate, let's quickly rifle through the subs. Obviously, I won't bother with Lukaku, Loftus-Cheek and stuff because they only played about 20 minutes. Kovacic and Ziyech played a half. What did you make of Kovacic when he came on? Made a difference or not really? I'm saying average.
Didn't really get a chance to. You know
No.
what I mean? We conceded and we're 3-1 down. It just knocked the stuffing out of the whole thing. He was more dynamic. And
Let's go. We'll go with a 5 then.
It was clear that he should have started. Put it that way.
Yeah, 100%. He's got to be starting. He's our best midfield player, and why he's not starting that often is really beyond me. Hakim Ziyech then. What did you make of him last night?
It's another story. It's another one of those second half things.
You mean you come on at half time and then straight away you're 3-1 down inside 30 seconds, and the whole thing changes. I mean, it wasn't awful. Do you think just average?
Yeah, I think it's 5. You know, he had a chance right at the end, which I wouldn't say.
He did his best.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's our player ratings. Let me just quickly get these in. Let's see what Mo's saying. Tuchel's under pressure from divorce and the Chelsea ownership situation. Some players criticising his system in interviews and international breaks. Mourinho didn't get him the wing back and striker we need. I mean, to be honest, they did bring the striker in. Tuchel did give his approval to Lukaku by all means. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to look back now in hindsight, but perhaps, you know, we should have maybe done something in the window if we could have done. I mean, it's all very well saying it now, but you know, the squad, the ownership issue needs to be sorted as soon as possible, and we have to massively strengthen the squad in the summer in key areas because there's a lot of players that aren't good enough to be at Chelsea and don't deserve to be there. Right, that's our player ratings, guys. Obviously, let us know your thoughts in the chat and the comments if you agree or you disagree. Seems like a good point to round out then. Chelsea 3-1 down, heading to the Bernabeu next week. Mission impossible, but never say never in football. And bro, thank you so much for joining me as always. We roll on to Southampton on Saturday afternoon where we definitely need the reaction. We can't go 3 games without a win. We've got to stop the rot in that regard. Guys, thanks so much for getting involved in the chat. Thanks for interacting with us. Make sure you smash a like on this video and please do subscribe to the channel. Just click that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Almost at 400 now, so make sure you help me get there. Really appreciate all of your support. And we'll catch you in the Southampton preview tomorrow. So, guys, stay tuned for that one. Disappointing night for the Blues, but as always, keep the faith and up the Chels.